Here here in the US, who's still up? And has anybody go live yet after the HAPS marathon we just did? Was it 6 hours? 6 hours. 6 fun hours. And I thank Peter and Pablo and Brett for having me on for the last little bit of the broadcast. See if anyone joins. 4:16 a.m. here Eastern here in the US. It's kind of a random but yet inspired title. Let's see who's still got fuel in their system, so to speak. I get a glass of water here. Drink of water. Not sure how long we're gonna stay on. What's up, Bruce? Oh yeah, dude, no problem. That's in the past, and we've moved on, but that's beauty of live streaming. Sometimes those things happen, and we just take them for verbatim and what they are at the time that that happens. Vince, it's up from Alhambra. So I think did you join a few times? I think you joined in at least in the chat a few times, and then I saw you hopping over to haps hopping. Can we call it that? Scope hopping. So here would be haps hopping. Not a fan of confusion. Hey, it happens. I confuse the hell out of myself too, Bruce. So, as long as no feelings are hurt, I actually welcome confusion different than welcoming perspective, because that is what perspective is. It's not about me. And then that's what I call myself. But, you know, that's haps hopping. Yeah. I came up with that on the fly. I don't know if anybody else in the past we're hapsters, right? It was funny during the 6-hour broadcast. Somebody said hamsters. Can't video chat with. Oh, no kidding. So you're just using. Well, careful with your battery use, because I know live video can eat up battery like you know what. But yeah, we had a lot of fun. Again, that was 6 hours, I believe. So yeah, 6 hours. Because okay, so it's 4 and 30 seconds, so it'd be 4:20 here in the Eastern time zone, right? So they started at 7 p.m. Pacific, which means it's 10 p.m. here when they started. So that makes it 6 hours. And we, if you guys missed it, watch especially the beginning of the broadcast, because right when they go live, they uh Bobby Becker came in, and I'm not going to reveal anything. Just watch a replay, even if it's just those few minutes. But she needs no introduction. But her reveal, so to speak, if you know where I'm going with this, was just absolutely epic, just hilarious too, and just absolutely off the charts. Just a second. So, what was the marathon about? Just question and answer. It was a little bit of everything. It was one of those where um, it was a chance to get to know other people, to promote yourself, to tell other people who you are, what you're about, why you're on Haps, how did you find Haps. I didn't mention that. I didn't really mention that when I did my introduction. Um, and when they first started, if I have the idea of it correctly, I think the idea was because you can only, when you're um, running on a desktop or a laptop on Broadcast Studio is what we call it, what I'm doing like right now. So for my example, right now, I can only bring on 8 people at a time, and because they work for Haps, Peter and Pablo and Brett was in and out of the chat the whole time, and I think what's his name? One of the co-founders was also on board for a little while too. He came on screen. I forget his name already. But the idea was kind of like a rolling cycle or circle, if you would, of broadcasters because, like I said, you can only have 8 people on at a time, and they had the privilege. I don't know if anybody else could do it, but because they run Haps, Peter and Pablo, majority of the time they were on cameras, but there were times when they would have just us 8 guests, whoever the 8 guests were at the time, at that specific time, and they can run in the background and still hear their audio. So technically 10 people, including them, at least in their case, they can, because it was on the official Haps account. And at one point we almost had to restart and go to Pablo's account. And we powered through it. And we made it. So if y'all don't know that, power through it. Continue. Don't give up. Don't give up on yourselves. Don't give up on your viewers. Looks like a Hapsathon beat the Helen's broadcast? What's that? I did a 7-hour yesterday, so I have an hour on them. I'm just saying, I'm not calling myself to attention, even though this is my channel, but I almost said that. I didn't, but I was on for 7 hours yesterday for my Haps challenge, my weekly Haps challenge. And I didn't expect to be on for 7 hours last night, but it kind of started like how we are right now, kind of low and slow, and it took off. And then you came in, and she's like, "Well, I can only stay for a few minutes." And then she's like, "Wait, why didn't you tell us that it was for the challenge?" She ate and probably shoved the food down her throat. She came back, and then I had Randy and a whole bunch of people on last night, and then the same thing today. Didn't even get a notification there you're on yesterday. I'll mention that in context. Obviously, I'll mention that. I'll just mention. I don't. No need to mention any names because that's beyond the point. But if that's happening to you, I'm gonna automatically assume, right or wrong, that you may not be the only one. I wouldn't think you would be the only one, and those things happen. You know, um, you know, so that's part of our platform. That happened all the time on Periscope too. I didn't get a notification. You know, so don't take this the wrong way because I'm saying this in the good sense because you could take it as part of my title yesterday, the dirty way or the mean way, so to speak, or you could take it the nice way. And the nice way of saying the same thing is, no, it's not an excuse, right? So what I mean by it's not an excuse, the nice version of saying that same thing is, don't feel sorry for yourselves. Don't feel sorry for something you shouldn't be sorry for. If you didn't do anything wrong, there's nothing to apologize for. So it's not your fault. That's why there's no excuse. So he's received one today, but not yesterday. And you're here right now, so obviously, yeah, yeah, and it happens. So it's hopefully it's nothing personal to you guys, you know. Um, but then again, that's what perspective is. So some people tend to take it. I touched on that yesterday, where I could say the nicest freaking thing to my coworker because I used him as an excuse, and he sit there because that something happened. We were referencing a prior broadcast of somebody else, and I was referencing something about a viewer, what happened with a viewer in that other person's broadcast. And I said, well, my coworker tends to do the same thing. I can walk up and say, okay, well, he has a nice pair of new boots, and sit there, hey, you have a nice pair of boots, and sit there, and he's crying and screaming and bad and hell and slamming things. And now I just turned his 8 hours to shit because that's how my coworker, his name is Richard. He's a good guy. He's a really good guy. He's an awesome guy. Sometimes he's hard to get along with just because you have to get to know how overly sensitive he can be. And sometimes there's nothing wrong with being sensitive, especially on the times that we're on now. And again, last night I kind of touched on that yesterday as well, where everybody, even if we realize it or not, even if we don't know what it is, outside, COVID's the start of it, right? But even if us are okay, so to speak, or better off than what a lot of many millions of people here, not only here in the US, but around the world, are suffering so bad that they don't need to be suffering right now, but they are, and no fault of their own, right? And even if we're a little bit better off than somebody else, we still, even if we don't know what it is we're all hanging by that thin thread. It's thin. You can imagine how thin, however thin you want it to be. But I like to think of it as it's an invisible thread. We don't know where that thread is. We don't know what's holding on either end of that thread, right? And we're all unknowingly trigger happy. That one little thing will cut that thread because it's so thin. Exactly. That's why I'm referring to it how tiny. You guys can think of how imaginary tiny that you want. It could be the thickest freaking rope that you want to imagine. But if the two ends are not together properly or not holding properly, or maybe they're not as... That was one of my weaknesses when I was in the Army, was freaking knots. If those knots don't hold, use an aviation reference, you sit there and you could build a badass wing for an airplane, but if you can't attach that wing to the airplane properly, or even think that it's attached properly, and as much as I hate to say this actually has happened before in real life, but I'm better off on aviation references where, you can make a robust wing. Well, if it's not attached properly, or if there's something that attaches it and it fails, well, what good is it? What good is it? So, but they kind of suggested a party. Parties have to start somewhere. I don't know how long I'm going to be, and maybe it might be a few minutes. It could go on all night. I don't know. I could pull all nighter. I don't care. I'm off the whole damn weekend. So, I'm powering through it. I just finished my energy drink. And, some of the, in my perspective, I guess, some of it, a little bit had to do with a little bit of luck as far as getting on board and literally coming up into the broadcast, such as yours truly. Again, Peter and Pablo and Brett, thank you for having me. That was awesome. That was epic. Um, we'll see how things go. There was mentioned a couple times that maybe it might be like a quarterly thing or a monthly thing, or the ideas were thrown around all over the place tonight, and for you two that are not that are here, yeah, I just kind of at a whim and a will, and they mentioned that several times as closer to the end is the more it's mentioned and whatever, and kind of jokingly, but kind of like, okay, well, is there an after party? A lot of you all are up in Europe. Bobby, I think Bobby pulled an all-nighter. I think she was on twice. She was on in the very beginning, like right away. So she was like the first set of 8 that came on, and you guys gotta watch that. The way that she enters the room, just absolutely adorable and hilarious at the same time. Just, I'm not gonna reveal it. You guys are gonna have to watch it for yourselves. But who knows? Maybe there was a party somewhere else. They had a green room. I was lucky enough not even to get in the green room and get in, so that was cool because I didn't even know how the hell to get in the green room. And so some people knew how to do it, and others kind of figured it out for themselves, and others were asking. But that was one of those broadcasts where, you know, don't be afraid. Where, hey, can I bring myself to attention? Because that's part of what I broadcasted about last night is, do's and kind of like the do's and don'ts of live streaming kind of thing, and it just took a whole life of its own. Almost all these broadcasts. That's the beauty of Haps. Not just that it's a live streaming platform, but they take a life on its own, and you'd be a little bit specific, even if you were random and really no topic on Periscope, but it still tend to be. But hey Bruce, if you want to come on board, you're more than welcome. I'll send you an invite anyways, but regardless, but it's up to you to join. But like I said, I don't know how long I'll be on. I don't know. But we'll see how things go, I guess. And I've really no mission. I don't do too much politics, but if you guys don't know this, now don't get overly prematurely. Don't go all premature on me because I can reference that in a minute. Okay. But even though I don't go politics on here, you got to go because I'm falling asleep. No problem. But the point is, the House of Representatives passed the COVID bill hour and a half ago, if that. That's how recent it is. Now the bill is not passed. Okay. So those of you seeing this on the replay here in the States, don't get overly prematurely excited because it still has to go to the Senate. They have to do their thing. Hopefully what they do is what they promised, especially when some of them campaigned, changing some of those states. And then Biden will have to sign it. So still has to go to the Senate and then to Biden's desk. So that hasn't happened yet, and it's too early for that to even happen. So thank you, Bruce. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to come on because I don't know if there's really a party anywhere else. I don't know, because that's one of the things that I kind of noticed with Haps too. And over time, that'll get a lot better, but, there could be a party somewhere else that I'm not aware of, that I didn't see that went live. So, who knows? I don't know. But, yeah, I thought I'd come on for a little bit just to see what the hell kinda happens kinda thing. Glad to have you here for a few minutes, Bruce. Yeah. After parties are the best. Yeah, just, you know, and it doesn't involve any food or hors d'oeuvres or anything, but, uh 'cause like I said, in life of their own, so you never know what the hell's gonna happen there was a little bit of where, we were almost bracing for impact at one point in 2 different ways where the app almost crashed on us just 'cause it was just overloading the system, and then it got through it real quick in a hurry. But then at the same time, they had a guest that was dropping a couple F-bombs, and we just powered through it, and we just kinda pretending that it was going in one ear and out the other, and we didn't nobody made a big deal about it, but we knew that it was happening and whatever, and nobody really said anything, nobody complained either. So that was a little interesting. I put a comment in there, that was before I actually joined, but I was still in the chat, and I'm like, "Yeah, we need a live bleep button." But, that could be another tip to add from yesterday's broadcast is Haps doesn't really have to do that for us. That would probably be easier and cheaper way of doing it, where we don't have to have any fancy equipment that we don't think we need or spend money on that we don't have. But we can already do that ourselves if we can sit there and create a button, a live button, and hit that bleep. So, especially if it's our channel. All right, good night, Bruce. So I'll wait another minute or two. Nobody else comes on in. 'Cause I don't really have anything prepared, so it's more of a, if you guys are here, we'll entertain you. Nobody's really here. There's nothing really to entertain because there's not really much to share for tonight. Nothing really breaking news as far as that COVID bill, and a lot of people probably don't even care about that either. And I'm not about politics, so I don't want to bring that into the channel either. So, we'll wait another minute or two. See if anybody else hops on board. And Haps on board. Hops on board. Haps. Hapsin. Happy Happison. All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and broadcast down because, like I said, it's 4:40 in the morning here. So who knows? Who knows? But then again, go to watch a replay. You don't have to watch all 6 hours, but get a little bit of everything. We had broadcasters sharing or showing shootings or the scene of a shooting where the cops were there or whatever. You didn't see anything bad happen or nothing, but live reporters doing their thing live on air with us. That was good fun. We had Mel. Mel was sharing. She was on location. She was sharing the opera house in Australia, the very famous opera house. Absolutely gorgeous, breathtaking shots. We had another gentleman that I just met tonight. Um, Apologize, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I still have to subscribe to him, but a really nice guy. He was on a hike with his puppy or his dog, or he's walking up a mountain. From he's uh somewhere in Europe. He was, I think, in Not sure where that was. But he had epic views. If you all know Andrew took us on a walk as well. Andrew, I think Andrew 360, he's the one that does it like a phone booth broadcast. Pete from Florida was on. Jim, JS on Haps was on. Chris Rossetti came on for a few minutes. Give us a little entertainment. Among many, 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 many others, dozens of us. We all had a great time tonight. So again, to the Haps team, thank you for having me on. Really appreciate that. Appreciate what you do for us. And again, I'm happy that the Android update for the Android phones is looking promising, because I'll be using my phone a lot more in the future. Probably just as equal as I'm using my laptop right now. So yeah, y'all stay tuned. So I've got a lot of things to share. Maybe not right this moment, but we've got a lot of fun things planned for you. Some of them planned on the fly, some of them truly planned, and have to do some hardcore homework for them to make sure I have to get things right. Some of them are coming up are really, 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 really important. And some of them have to do with history. So when you broadcast about history, you have to get it right. Have to get it right. So with that said, folks, party's a party. Some parties are bigger than others. Well, all right, so I'm going to haps on down. And you guys have a good night.